Welcome to Hope Natural Health, the podcast inspiring you to be your best version. Join me, your host, Dr. Erin, naturopathic doctor, dog mom, cancer survivor, and girl boss weekly as we discuss all things health, hormones, and happiness with a little side of this thing called life. Welcome back to the Hope Natural Health podcast, where I try to get you healthy the right way. Last week, we talked about period cramps, and today we're doing a complete 180, and we're going to be shifting to a mindset. And I am so excited for our guest this week. This is Coach AK, who I met at F45, and if you know me, you know that I am 100% obsessed with F45 and so thankful that I found that gym. But Coach AK made my workouts that much more awesome at 5 a.m. And I am so excited that he is here on the podcast. So welcome, AK.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, I'm so glad you're here. So let's get started, dive right in. So tell me, you have like a pretty cool background. So tell me about your background and how you got into coaching.
Okay. Well, it's a long story, but I guess I'll say this. I started off teaching at the college level as a college professor. Then I became an academic dean. And then the entire time as a professor and even as a dean, I found myself just constantly coaching and developing, coaching students, coaching faculty, coaching other administrators. And it's just something I've always just really enjoyed doing, just really helping people take their potential and marry it to the right mentality. That's something I just enjoy doing. So I was in higher education for about close to 20 years, about 18 years. And then I decided I wanted to become a professional speaker full-time and coach full-time. And so that's what I did. I took time and I wrote a book called The Art of Transformation, which talks about 8 practical steps that you can apply right where you are and go to an entirely different level. And then I started working with clients. I work with a bunch of different athletes and just clients of professional, whether it's professional athletes, collegiate level athletes, or youth athletes. And what we do is we coach the mind, because what people don't understand is the mindset drives the skill set. And that's not just in athletics, it's in life. And that's why this talk is so important, because I think, there's not enough there's not enough information about really, there is a lot of information, but I don't think people are really aware of the resources available as far as just really tuning in mentally with yourself so you can go to a different level and do what you're capable of. So for me, the pandemic happened and I had never, ever, ever coached like as far as coaching before, like physically coaching people. And so a good friend of mine, Jordan, called me and reached out and said he was opening the F45. And if I had ever given any thought to doing some physical coaching and training, I said, not really. But then he said, think about it. And, I think it'd be great for you for what you do anyway. And I said, all right, so I got my certification and I got into it and I'm thinking like, I really have to be super technical. I have to be on point with just the movements and everything. And then I thought about it like, I don't know. Mm-hmm. I put too much pressure on myself. I said, you know what I need to do? I need to go in here and just be myself and add value and help them where they are, because, I felt like you guys were already coming in and getting a physical workout. I was super intentional about making sure you guys left with some mental food as well, that you could apply right where you were. And I thought it was a good combination. It worked out really well. And for me, I'm always a big person on practice, mm-hmm. because practice makes improvement. So when the pandemic happened, it was just kind of serendipitous for me. And I said, you know what, I get an opportunity to go and I get to go take mental reps as well. Every single day, I get to go take reps and help other people take not just physical reps, but mental reps. Mm-hmm. And that's when I started doing the physical coaching in addition to the mental coaching.
That's so awesome. Can we go back because you said something so awesome? So you said mindset sets the skill set. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Absolutely. When you look at peak performers, whether it's in sports or just in life as professionals, whatever field choice that you're in, the one thing that you notice about per- peak performers, top performers, people who consistently perform at a high level, they usually have the right mentality to go along with that. There's a certain mindset that they adopt and develop. No matter what, I have to get this done.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not unhealthy. It's a very healthy way of thinking and a way of living. But I feel like so just to use the analogy with my athletes, I don't care how good they are or how gifted they are. If they never learn how to develop, if they only ever take physical reps and they never learn how to take mental reps, they'll never reach their fullest potential ever.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so important that individuals learn how to take the mental reps because once you take the mental reps, it becomes second nature, but it also helps you with everything else. Anything else that you
Mm-hmm.
want to do is not as hard or it's not as tedious or it's not as laborious.
Yeah. What exactly do you mean when you say take mental reps?
So for instance, right? So I told you practice. So one of the things and I'll just use in terms of athletes. So when I go and let's say if I'm talking to a group of baseball players, and I go ask them, I say, hey guys, so tell me what do you focus on when you come to practice? And 9.5 times out of 10, they always say the same thing. Well, I'm here to focus on my throwing, my hitting,
Mm-hmm.
my base running, they're telling me all the physical things they do. And then I say, okay, well, what if I told you that is shallow practice? What if I told you there's something called deep practice or deliberate practice, where you come in and you focus on your leadership skills? You're super intentional because everybody's going to run, hit, and throw.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody. Um, but not everybody's being intentional about working on their leadership skills or their communication skills or being coachable or focusing on really giving their absolute best effort. Like you can practice those things too at practice. And I think a lot of times it goes it's not done on an intentional basis.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're more intentional about the physical reps than they are about the mental reps. But the more they can condition themselves to take those mental reps, the game becomes easier, practice is easier, and then in turn, the games are easier, and you see consistency and peak performance.
That makes complete sense. Why do you think like we focus so much on the physical and just kind of ignore the mental? Is it because we just don't know? No one's ever told us to?
I think it's a lack of knowledge around the
Mm-hmm.
area. It's almost like this. I'll use this analogy. It's almost like, hey, when you go to the gym, don't skip leg day. Because you
Mm-hmm.
can't see my legs if I put on pants, but you can see my upper body, right? So
Right.
it's almost the same thing. So I'm going to focus on what you can see and not what
Mm-hmm.
you can't see.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can't see what's going on in my mind, I can hide that, right? I
Right.
can I can put on a facade and let you focus on the physical, but it's going to come out in the end. It's going to show up at some point. It's going to show up because
Right.
you can do all this work physically, but if you didn't do the mental work, it's going to come out at some point and probably at an inopportune time.
Oh yeah. Yep. I mean, I've been guilty. Well, not guilty, but that's happened to me and I didn't even know. It's like, oh man, I got to do the work. I got to start working on stuff inside.
Absolutely,
Well,
absolutely.
it's
So it's
that whole
all inside
subconscious
out.
mind. And I know you've talked about that in some of our things about the subconscious mind. We touch a little bit about that.
Yeah. So I think what happens is what we do, who I think it's just the way we see ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Our thoughts are very, very powerful. And if we're not careful, we can believe our thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of investigating, challenging your thoughts, we just tend to believe them because they're our thoughts. So I was working with a client the other day, and what I told them was, I said, hey, I want you to think about something. I want you to think about all the negative self-talk, and I want you to think about all the things when you're talking yourself down and talking yourself out, and you're just really beating yourself up. Those are your thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
I said, I want you to think about if that was actually not your thoughts, but a person sitting next to you who called themselves your friend that said all those things, how long would you guys be friends?
Mm-hmm.
And I said, but what's crazy is because it's our thoughts, we accept it.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of just having the courage to challenge the thought, really challenge the thought, investigate the thought, and ultimately you have to be willing to kind of go to war with yourself, because the reason it's so important, and I focus so much on mindset and our thoughts, is because it absolutely dictates our actions and our behaviors, which ultimately impacts our outcomes, the outcomes we do or don't get.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Oh, it totally makes sense. So this leads into another question kind of around that same topic, but why do you think that we're so hard on ourselves, and why do you think we have those negative thoughts?
I believe we're just this is like a really like a loaded question, but I'm going to try to answer it as simple as
Yeah.
possible. I believe we're pre-wired to be this way.
Yeah.
And I think we condition ourselves to be this way, but just like we condition ourselves, we can recondition ourselves
Mm-hmm.
to be a different way. But what happens is this: we're used to talking ourselves down and talking ourselves out instead of talking ourselves in
Mm-hmm.
and talking ourselves up. So I look at it like I did an activity with one of my clients, and I had like maybe 200 words, and they were all positive words, all of them, all positive words. And I said, what I want you to do is I want you to pick five, only five that you believe you have. Out of 200 of these positive words, pick five. And then I want you to pick five that you wish you had.
Mm.
And then I want you to pick five that you admire in other people. And then I want you to pick five that others might say you have. And when they did that activity, they really noticed the difference. And I said, how come you can see these qualities and admire these qualities in other people, but you can't see it in yourself?
Right.
And they said, well, it's easy. I said, but then you don't see yourself the way other people really see you.
Mm-hmm.
Because what you said, the way people might view you as, these are all high quality, these are to me high quality characteristics, every last one. And if people would view you like this, why wouldn't you view yourself like this?
Right.
And it comes down to just believing the thoughts that we have, not questioning those thoughts, not taking time to really say, hey, is this even true?
Right.
Is this even true? And it really comes down to that. But I
Mm-hmm.
believe we are pre-wired. And the good news is about that is we can really recondition ourselves. We can retrain ourselves just like anything.
Oh, yeah. How do you, so I help a lot of women, obviously, with their hormones, but a lot of women with weight loss and like dietary things. And I love, and I use this in practice all the time with your habit analogy and disrupting the habit. Can you talk
Hmm.
about like some tips or something that someone could do if they're struggling with weight loss, or perhaps like diet or making healthy choices? Because again, like we can retrain ourselves, but I also know that we can't go all or nothing because then we're going to fail. Do you have any advice?
Absolutely. Absolutely. When we look at our patterns of behavior,
Mm-hmm.
our routines say a lot about us, and so what we have to do if we want to change, everything comes down to your routine. The power and the change is in your routine. And what's easy to do is easy not to do. And what I
Mm.
mean by that is it's easy to go to the gym, but initially it's hard. But once you get used to going, that's all you want to do. You just want to go. So you have to retrain yourself. You have to put yourself in a position. And it's easier said than done. But what that means is maybe I just shock myself. Maybe if instead of sleeping in, I get up earlier,
Mm-hmm.
and I just that small thing can make a very big difference in your day. You know what? Not wait until later in the day to work out, because then the later it gets, I typically make an excuse or something comes up. So if I
Mm-hmm.
get up first thing in the morning and go, I don't have any excuses. And you know what? I feel so much better because it's done.
Absolutely.
It's done. So for me, I talk a lot about the power of routine because I don't think people really understand like the compound effect. I talk about if you're willing to walk or run 1 mile a day, that adds up. It might not seem like much, but
Mm-hmm.
1 mile a day over the course of 365 days, that is also equivalent to 365 miles or 14 marathons.
Right.
And
That's
when you
huge.
look at it like that, it is huge. So if you ask somebody, hey, you want to run 14 marathons with me this year? And they're going to look at you like you just said something in a different language, right?
Yep. Yep.
But if you say, hey, what about if we just ran 1 mile a day consistently every day, no matter what, that's what we do.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, oh, that's more realistic.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it comes down to just having very realistic goals and expectations for yourself when you want to change, and it determines how successful you're going to be. Like you said, you can't go all in because you won't be as successful.
Mm-hmm.
But if you can change some small things in what you do, so if hey, I like to, on the way home every day, I like to stop and grab a burger or some fries or whatever it is. You know what? Leave your debit card at home.
Mm-hmm.
Don't have any cash on you. So you have to learn how to just disrupt. Just
Yep.
learn how to disrupt a pattern. Patterns are, I'll say it like this. Good habits are just as easy to develop as bad habits. They're just a lot more rewarding, right? So the
Mm-hmm.
easiest thing to develop is a habit. The hardest thing to break is a habit.
Yeah.
So you want to make sure you're choosing those habits wisely because it can become hard to break and they can become toxic, especially if we're not thinking and our mind is not in the right space.
Yeah, and it's crazy if you think about it, like think about your normal routine. I mean, I'm guilty of it in certain things, but there's so many things because it's such routine that we do on a daily basis until we sit down and actually analyze what we're doing. It's really hard to know, oh, I'm like going for a soda at 2 o'clock in the afternoon every single day. Or, yeah, I'm going and stopping and buying Starbucks every morning. Things like that we don't really, it's just such routine and it's habit. And we don't really understand that unless we actually sit back and think like, oh, what am I doing every day? So that's important to
You have to
remember.
you just have to be intentional. I
Yep.
mean, and just get down to the root cause of it. What is it? What's going on? Am
Mm-hmm.
I bored? What am I running away from? Am I, do I have guilt about? Let's just get to the root cause because
Yeah.
then once we can identify it, we can work on it. But again, it goes back to instead of just letting those thoughts come and just kind of take over and kind of because what it does is if those thoughts aren't where they need to be and they're toxic, it's really the worst form of suffering you can do.
Oh, yeah.
It really is, and it's tough because you really do have the power to change it and make those adjustments by just questioning those thoughts.
Yeah. So true. So true. I mean, it's work too. It's work. It's not easy.
Yes,
It's not easy. And it doesn't happen overnight either.
absolutely
And I think
not.
it's ever evolving too. There's always more work that you can do on yourself. I mean, I know you teach people, but I'm sure you do your own work too, and it's ever evolving on your own self.
Oh, I do. I do. I'm
Yeah.
super. I'll be honest. One of the things I did come into the gym, I was super intentional because everything I would teach you guys and tell you guys, I need to hear it too.
Mm-hmm.
It keeps me sharp.
Yeah.
So when I say mental reps, those are my mental reps.
Right.
Sharing that with you keeps me grounded. It helps remind me.
Oh, yeah.
So I mean, I'm not above it, and it's so important that we learn how to take the mental reps. And I'll share this quick story with you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm working with a young man who is one of the top running backs in the state of Arizona. He's a senior this year. He has so many offers, Ivy League schools all across the country, so like 20 different D1 offers.
Wow.
I've been working with him for a few months, strictly on mindset. And Friday night, I am at dinner with my wife at Bourbon and Bones in Gilbert. It's like 9:30, and my phone's ringing. She's like, "Who is that?" I'm like, "Oh, it's one of my clients." She was like, "Oh, well, answer it. It might be, he might need you." So I answered the phone, and he was ecstatic. He was ecstatic.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, what's going on? He said, "Well, coach, I wanted to call you because I want to tell you what happened today." I said, "Okay, well, what happened?" He said, "Well, uh, we had a game tonight." He said, "And I really didn't play a lot in the first half, and I don't know why I didn't play a lot in the first half." He said, "And it was so frustrating." He said, "But my energy was bad. I couldn't be happy for the players that were in the game. I just was," he said, "and then I remembered the session we had last week, which was just staying neutral thinking, just staying neutral. So I'm not thinking positive and I'm not thinking negative. I'm just neutral, which means I simply just suspend all judgment about what's going on. It is what it is. I don't have any judgment about it, and I remove my emotions from that. And he said, and the second half came around, and I scored 3 touchdowns, and I scored the game-winning touchdown.
Oh, wow.
And he said, it was so crazy. He said, that's not why I called you. He said, I didn't call you to tell you how the game went. We won the game, and I scored the game-winning touchdown. He said, I called you to tell you I applied neutral thinking, and it literally changed the trajectory of the game for me. And I said, man, that's what I mean when I say do the work and take the mental reps. It doesn't, because if he had not, and initially he wasn't, because it's easy to just kind of let those thoughts consume us and just be in our thoughts instead of saying, wait a minute, let me question that. And then what technique can I apply here to get me out of this? Okay, this way of thinking, because that could have lingered on the entire game. That could have lingered on through practice the following week. That could have lingered on. And now, who knows what that turned into. But he said, look, I don't care about winning the game. None of that mattered. I'm more excited about applying this technique that was absolutely powerful and beneficial when I needed it most.
Yeah, that's incredible. I never even thought about that, but you're so right. So just if I heard that right, so I can understand it. So neutral thought. So instead of getting down about not playing or even excited about the people that were playing, he just kind of remained neutral. It didn't have any emotion.
Neutral. Yeah. So it's not even about taking the emotion out, because this is how I explain it. Neutral thinking is a high performance technique that you use in times of crises, high pressure situations, high stress situations. You suspend judgment. So no matter what's going on, you're going to suspend judgment on it, which allows you to stay neutral so you can focus on what I need to do next. Okay. I'm not dwelling on what happened last. I'm only focused on what needs to happen next. And if I stay neutral, I can make the best decision. Now, that's very, very hard to do for most people, to not judge. And I'm going to tell you why. Because the things that we think, the things that our eyeballs see, and the things that our ears hear, the first thing we do is judge. So now what do we do? Okay, so I said, if you have to judge and you just can't help it because you're so used to it, I get it, it's going to take time. I said, but what I want you to do is, if you have to judge, remove emotion from judgment then.
Yeah.
I ultimately want you to not judge, but if you have to, remove emotion, because that allows you to also stay neutral. It's a high performance technique that's incredible. It's incredible.
Sounds like it. So I'm intrigued.
As a U.S. Marine, right? And I don't even think I mentioned that, but yeah, as a U.S. Marine, these are things that I teach to my clients that they can use. So it doesn't matter who you are or where you are in your journey, you can apply these techniques and it will change the trajectory of where you're going.
That's awesome. That's so cool. It's that mind. That mind is so powerful, and we don't really take full advantage of it, or maybe we are, but in a negative way. But we can use it for so much more than what we're using it for.
Oh, powerful.
Okay. So what do you think is the biggest mental struggle you've seen? You probably already touched on it.
Yeah. You know what? If I had to say anything, it's literally the judging. And the reason is because we're also pre-wired to judge. There's just, whether you want to or not, I can say In-N-Out right now, like In-N-Out burgers, and you're going to have a thought about it. I could say anything and you're naturally just going to go to judgment on it. Instead of saying, let me suspend judgment. I don't eat it, but if you do, fine.
Right.
But instead of, oh, that's garbage. Oh, why would you do that to yourself? And blah, blah, hey, remove judgment. And so it allows us to move forward. But, that's very small. But I mean, in terms of, in a corporate environment or work, a professional environment, leadership, when athletes, like, there's high pressure, high stress situations, and if you can neutralize the pressure and neutralize the stress around you, you can think with more clarity, and then you can act and behave in that same way, and then the outcomes will typically be in your favor.
Wow, so true. How do you where do you recommend someone like start with this?
Good question. I mean, there's so many places a person can go. Um, what I like to do is I say stop judging and take action. So for me, action is really, really powerful because it, I think I talked to you guys about this before. Act, think, feel, think,
Mm-hmm.
act. Do you
Yeah,
remember when I
I
talked about
do.
that?
But I can hear it
It's
again.
so okay. So what most people end up doing, right, is they they wake up every morning and they focus on how they feel. They focus on how they feel. So if they feel bad, they feel depressed, they feel cruddy, then it goes right into their thinking. So if you feel depressed, you're going to have depressed thoughts. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Because the first thing you focused on was how you felt. And then it impacts your thoughts. And we already know the two things that are impacted the most from your thoughts are your actions and your behaviors. So when you wake up and you feel bad, you're going to think bad. Okay. And then you're going to have bad actions.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so what I encourage people to do is I want you to do that same order of operations, just reverse it. So don't focus on how you feel. I want you to take action first. So
Mm-hmm.
if you wake up and you don't feel the best and you do feel depressed, that's okay. What I try to get people to understand is it's a feeling and it's temporary. And
Right.
if you allow it to be temporary, but if you allow it to be permanent, it'll just post up a tent. It'll stay there for as long as you let it, as long as you allow that feeling to be there, it'll stay there. But not realizing that if you just take action, so even if you don't feel the best, but you take the right action in the morning. So you know what? I may not feel the best, but I'm going to get up and go to the gym because I know once I get moving, get my blood flowing, get a good
Mm-hmm.
workout in, that'll literally change the trajectory of what I'm thinking. And then I can focus on how I feel later because if I get up and I take the right action, it impacts my thoughts the right way. And then I'm going to feel a whole lot better. But if I only focus on how I felt initially, I can be what I like to call quicksand, right? Mental
Mm.
quicksand. It's a slow spiral down throughout the day, throughout the week, and so on and so forth. So, in a nutshell, F your feelings.
Yeah.
That's what I tell people.
No, and that's true because we immediately wake up and it's happened to me and I'm sure because at the gym, like if we don't show up, we get charged $15. So even if I did feel like I don't want to work out, I still
Right.
go because I don't want to get charged the $15. I mean, that's like an added motivation, but even if like I didn't have that charge, like I would still go because I'm up. And I swear it does, even if I'm tired, like usually I don't wake up feeling, sad or anything, but usually it's like, oh, I didn't get good sleep or I'm a little bit groggy and I'm like, I really should sleep more. But no, I'm like, nope, I made a commitment. I'm going to go to the gym. I know I'm going to feel better. And it works. Like I do feel better and I have more energy. So that's a very awesome way to look at it because we can easily talk ourselves out of things if we don't feel well or have those
But
emotions.
what that does when we do that, and the more we do that and we get used to doing that, the worse off we feel because I'm gonna tell you why. We never ever do what we're capable of. And what I've learned just in my personal experience is that I feel the absolute best whenever I do what I'm capable of doing.
Mm,
And whenever I don't do what I'm capable of doing, I feel worse. I feel the absolute worst because I'm capable. And it's just something so powerful about that. Like I had, and I know your background, your health background with overcoming cancer, and I was speaking with a gentleman, and his wife had recently overcome cancer,
mm-hmm.
and he said, "Man, it's been such a transformational experience for us because they have 4 sons." He said it's been transformational. He said, the first couple that just moved out to Phoenix. He said the first couple of years, my wife and I were kind of at odds and we were going back and forth. And, we were just kind of, not seeing eye to eye. He said, because I'm super ambitious and I just felt like she should have been ambitious. And it was just, we were going back and it was just a tug of war. And I said, yeah. He said, then all of a sudden we get this news hit us. He said, and our world stopped and the stuff that I was upset about and complaining about, it didn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
He
Mm-hmm.
said it just didn't matter. It was so minuscule on the grand scheme of things that it didn't matter. And I said, he said, but you know what? In the last, I think 13 months since his wife had been diagnosed, he said, man, she has not only showed me so much, she showed herself so much. She showed our boy so much. He said, and now he said, man, it's so amazing. He said, I don't like that it happened. He said, but I kind of love it. He said, I'm going to tell you why. He said, because we all know what we're capable of. We all know how strong we are now. We all know what we can do and what we can overcome. And I'm getting goosebumps talking about it. And I'm going to tell you why. Because just of what you had to overcome. And I'm certain that for you, it had to trigger something. I know we talked before about the medical school situation and how that worked out. And it's like, you know what, man, I only got one life. I gotta go for it.
Exactly.
And I just, if I'm here, I want to do what I'm capable of, because I don't know when I'm not gonna be here.
Right.
And it's just such a powerful revelation and mindset to adopt and live in.
Yeah. Yep. I can 100% agree with that. I mean, the same thing pretty much happened to me in my journey through cancer. Not telling everyone like, oh, get cancer so you can have that, but yeah, no, something, and it could be anything. It could be some other sort of trauma in your life that can, trigger that. But yeah, it's incredible. Oh, AK, I'm so excited that you were here. This is amazing. I know we could talk about this forever, for hours and hours and hours. I'll be like, can you repeat all of the things that you told us at 5:45 after we just sweated insanely and got us on our day?
I could write a book.
You should.
I could write another book. If I came up with if I talked about every single thing, that'd be literally another book. But that was such a, people don't understand. I think they felt like, some people probably felt like it was so easy for me to leave. And it was one of the hardest things, because I didn't know I was going to really, really love it like that. But what was crazy about it is that all I did was focus on just adding value to the environment, more value to the environment. And I wanted you guys to really leave with something more than just a workout. And I was super intentional about that.
Oh yeah. And it was incredible. And I'm super sad you aren't there anymore, but off camera earlier, you did say and we're going to put it out there because this is out in the public now, but y'all, he promised that he was going to come back and work out with us, and it's been months, and he has not shown his face, but he says it isn't on purpose, but he did say not this week, but next week he is going to come back to F45 East Point and do a workout, and I am holding you accountable, and it better be at 5 a.m. because that's when you say you work out.
Oh, yes. Okay. I promise. We're on the record. We're on camera. I am going to do it. Now, I only have 3 days that week because I'll be going to California on Wednesday. So Monday and Tuesday, you guys will see me.
Oh, not this coming Monday or Tuesday, but well, you know what the following Monday is 3-peat. I don't know if you want to do that one.
Look, hey, it is what it is. I mean, I'm in good shape, but good shape outside of F45 is like okay shape, right?
Right.
So, I mean, yeah, I guess I'm average shape then. I'm in average.
I love it. Well, I end the podcast with a question that I ask all of my guests. So what is your best or favorite health tip that you can share with everyone listening?
I think the biggest health tip that I would give everyone is take time to mentally decompress. Like take time to, I know we're always going and on the hustle and the grind. And, I would say rest. You're going to stress your body by the work you do, the physical work, the mental work that you do. You're going to stress your body, and that's fine. You want to stress your body and stress your mind. But I humbly challenge and encourage you to rest as well. And what I mean by that is not just sleep, but it's getting the proper nutrition. It's, going to get a massage if you need a massage, going to get a stretch. Just really taking care of yourself so you can recover. So when you do have those times of stress, which you should embrace the stress, it's not a good or bad thing. It's just stress is just what it is. It comes with the territory of living. But it's how you see stress and how you deal with it. So whether it's your day-to-day job, dealing with your family and kids, whether it's your weight loss journey, whether it's just a health issue or anything else, embrace whatever it is, right? The stress of it all, but then also allow your body to recover and your mind to recover so you have the energy to continue to battle the good fight. I hope that makes sense.
Oh my gosh, it totally makes sense. And what's ironic is I am going to be recording another podcast today on that same subject. So I will go into more depth about that here, and everyone will be able to hear that episode in a couple weeks. But yes, wonderful advice. I love asking that question because everyone has a different tip, and it's fun for me to hear them all. And I've actually learned a lot from all of the tips. So thank you for that. And thank you so much for being here today. I so enjoyed this conversation. It was so good to chat with you again. And will you just end with how people can find you? And all of us will be linked in the show notes too, but where can people find you if they want to reach out and learn more about you?
Awesome. So you can go to my Instagram, universal_soldier_AK, or you can go to my website, which is universalsoldieracademy.com. There I have my curriculum. I have some curriculum I created there. You can purchase. I have my book, The Art of Transformation, there. And then if anybody ever wants just some coaching sessions, I do that, group talks, group sessions, individual sessions as well. So universalsoldieracademy.com.
Awesome. Yeah, I still need to get your book. Maybe I'll get it this week and you can autograph it when I see you at the gym.
Yes. I'm putting it in my phone too. Really, they'll show up at F45 on the following Monday. I'm putting it in there.
Well, I look forward to seeing you. And again, thank you so much for being here today. And if you got value from this podcast, I would love the 5-star review. Hit the 5 stars, leave a comment, leave a review, share it with your friends, and we will see you all next week.